Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is 2020 already. It's the 5th. I'm just now filming this video, but that's okay. I have been super sick for the last 3 weeks of 2019 following into 2020. I have a terrible cough still that is killing me, so my reading hasn't been going that great, but I wanted to talk about what I accomplished in 2019 reading wise and talk about what my goals are for 2020. So let's get started. So 2019, I had a few goals that I did actually manage to complete. And I managed to complete it with 3.5 hours to spare. Literally, I finished the first graphic novel for Artemis Fowl at 9 o'clock. But at least I finished, which I'm super proud of. I haven't finished a reading goal in a couple of years. I've been using Goodreads since 2013, and I think 2014 was the last year that I actually accomplished my reading goal, which is kind of sad. I did fall out of reading a little bit, and I just struggle with getting off of my phone and watching TV all the time and moving more over towards reading. So that is one of my goals for 2020. So like I said, I read 45 books in a little bit. And I'm just gonna take you through some stats, I guess, of the type of books that I read. So the longest book that I read was Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I think it was the second book that I read this year, and it was amazing. It's on my shelves behind me, but I really don't want to move any of my books at the moment. So I'll just insert a picture right here. It was so good. It was such a great ending to such an amazing series. I loved all of the characters. I loved that we got to see Aelin go from Selena, this lost girl who really didn't know what she was doing, who really didn't care about anyone or anything, transform into this amazing queen who would literally and did literally give her life for the future of her people. And I just thought that the conclusion to the series was so amazing, and I love that at the end we got this small moment between our original 3 characters, Aelin, Dorian, and Chaol. They're the ones that we started with. The very first chapter introduces them to the 3 of us in Throne of Glass, and I love that the last chapter we just get a moment with the 3 of them acknowledging that they started this together and they finished it together. I think Sarah J. Maas is an amazing author. I can't wait to see what she does this year. So my second goal for 2019 was to read more graphic novels. I think they're a great way to read a book without having to sit for hours or even days, and they were definitely really good during some of my reading slumps because I felt accomplished having finished a book and getting to see my goal go up without actually having to put a lot of effort into it. So I managed to read 9 graphic novels this year, which isn't a ton. That's basically almost 1 a month. But when I was really just wanting to not have my month end with 1 or 2 books read, I would pick up a graphic novel from Barnes & Noble or on my phone. And my favorite one that I read this year was Bloom, which was just this super cute story about this kid, Arya, I think, who works in his parents' bakery and who is basically going to inherit it as he gets older, but it's not what he wants. He wants to be in a band and move to a big city, and he meets this guy who moves to their small little beach town and gets hired on at their bakery, and there's a little bit of romance there, and we see our main character kind of struggle, which is nice because you don't always see characters struggle with things other than which boy do I choose? I hate my parents, stuff like that. This was a real struggle for him on who he was and what he wanted to be. And I just think that the romance was super cute, and him and his family and their culture was. That was the first one that I read of 2019, and it stayed my favorite throughout the entire year, and I really hope that I get to read more graphic novels this year. It's kind of hard to find. I don't want to read huge series or really anime heavy graphic novels. I just like cute standalone ones. I do want to start the Avatar the Airbender series in graphic novels. I also want to watch it on TV, but that's for later on in the year, I think. As far as star ratings go, I gave 26 different books 5 stars. I feel like I'm not a super picky reader like a bunch of other people are. I just see a lot of negativity on Bookstagram about how everything is about Faye and our main character is making too many mistakes and she's not a feminist, and our leading male character is gross. And I just feel like I get that, and I get that we want to promote like healthy female images, but it's just a book. If you took out everything that you didn't like in it, they would be boring. We need these bad characters in order to make the story better. I try not to be too picky. I try to just enjoy the storyline and see what the author was trying to get at when they wrote the story. So I had 26 5-star books. I really enjoyed my reading this year. I had 15 4-star books and 3 3-star books. I didn't have anything that ranked lower than that. Like I said, I just try not to be too picky and enjoy the story and understand that some characters have to be written badly because that's what you need. You need villains and characters, you need the conflict, you need characters to be weak and to sense those weaknesses and try to work on themselves. If not, the stories are just gonna be boring. I don't know what to tell some people sometimes. My favorite series that I ended up reading this year was kind of surprising to me. I'd heard quite a bit about it and just never jumped on the bandwagon for it. And then I noticed that the first book in the series was on sale for like $2.99 on iBooks. So I purchased it, which was The Raven Boys, and I loved the whole series. I thought it was super cute. I loved Gansey and Blue and Ronan and Adam and Noah, who broke my heart at the end, and even Henry, who came in at the end. I just really loved all of the characters. I died a little bit inside when Persephone and Noah's characters were gone. It was just a great, cute read, and I honestly loved every single book. My favorite of the series was The Dream Thieves, which centered a lot more on Ronan's character. He is a total mystery in the first book, and I loved getting to know him more in the second book, getting to read about his family, the powers that he has, and how they've kind of ruined his life, but are now also helping him and his friends. So I just thought the series was super cute. I don't think I've read anything else by Maggie Stiefvater. I never know how to say her name, but I definitely think that I want to read some more of her stuff now. I don't normally reread a lot of books, but this year I think I did reread 5 or 6 different books to fit different like reading challenges and stuff like that. But one of the series that I am consciously rereading right now is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I think that The Diviners might be my favorite series, hands down. I'm also torn between the Illuminae files. I thought that that was so amazing as well, but I haven't wanted to reread them. I have been wanting to reread the Diviners series for so long, and I finally decided to do it in November because the 4th book, King of Crows, comes out in February, and that's the final installment to this series. So I kind of wanted to reread and catch up and be like refreshed for when that book comes out, February 20th, I think. I just love the series. It's got paranormal activity in the 1920s and they're in New York, and I just think that it's so good. And the characters are so great and so flawed. They're teenagers. They make mistakes. They own up to them, but they don't pretend to be anybody other than who they are. Evie O'Neill, our main character, is a spoiled brat, and she pretty much maintains that for the entire series, but she's also trying to work on herself. She wants to be better. She wants to hone in her powers. She wants to be worthy of the people that she has around her, but she's still a party girl, and I still love that she stayed true to her original character in the first book that we fell in love with, but that she also, as she gets older, she evolves, and she just becomes a character that you fall in love with even more. And I cannot wait to continue on with the rest of my reread. I'm going to try to read the 2nd book in January, the 3rd book in February, and then hopefully have both of them done before the 4th book comes out. I started reading the series in like 2014, and it's 2020. I have waited 6 years for this 4th book to come out. Libba Bray is one of my favorite authors. She might be my favorite author. I have read a ton of books by her. the Gemma Doyle trilogy, going Boven. I just think she's one of my favorite authors. Her worlds are so incredible, and I am constantly wanting to reread books by her, which I don't normally want to do. I don't normally want to reread. But the worlds that she's created are just so amazing that I want to go back to them, and I want to reconnect with the characters, see if there are things that I missed on my first time around, see if there's anything that's kind of like foreshadowing for this new book. I just think she's amazing and the series is amazing, and I can't wait to read the rest of them and finish the series. So the last thing for my 2019 stats is my top 5 books of the year. These aren't in any particular order. I just went through what I had read and wrote down the ones that I loved the most. The first on that list is Kingdom of Ash. I already said it was a great conclusion to an amazing series. I loved all of the characters, even the bad ones, which is something that I think some people don't normally do, but I love the bad characters too. I love the journey that we saw our main characters go on, the roles that they found themselves in and accepted, and the world, the magic, everything about it was just so amazing. And now I kind of want to go back and reread that series as well. But that's a lot. 7 books is a lot to commit to rereading. Next is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, I believe. My favorite part about that book was the magic and the culture. I thought that it was so amazing. I loved our main character and her loyalty to her family and to her people. And I shouldn't say loved, but I thought that the writing when our main character's village was under attack, I'm sorry that I just keep saying main character. I cannot remember what her name is for some reason right now. But when her mom is being taken away in chains, for an author to be able to write a scene that is so gripping and so detailed that when I was reading it, everything else around me just kind of fell away and I felt like I was in that place witnessing it happen was incredible. And I think that the second book is out already. I just haven't had a chance to pick it up. But I'm also like, I don't know if this is like a duology or if it's going to continue on, and I just know it's going to be so amazing, so I have to like mentally prepare for it, but I'm super excited to continue on with that series. Number 3 is Aurora Rising. I love Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I mentioned earlier that the Illuminae Files is one of my favorite series. It's tied for first. I just think that they are such amazing authors, and I wouldn't think that I would like space expedition books like that, but they are both just such incredible writers, and their characters are so well-rounded and developed, and the world is also so amazing as well. And that's one of the things that really gets me, is the world, if I want to go there. Because some places the world isn't the main focus, which is fine. There are just some worlds that authors create that I'm like, yeah, I would want to live there. I would want to go there and be a space cadet and fight in this war, or get my wand and be sorted into a house, or, you know, whatever. But I just loved Aurora Rising, and I can't remember what the title of the second book is, but it is announced for this year, and I'm super excited. I'm hoping that they're going to tour and that I could possibly get my books signed by them. Aurora Rising was so good. I listened to it on audiobook at work, and I think I listened to almost the whole thing in one day, from like 7:30 in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. I just did not want to stop. I was captivated the entire time. It was so good. Number 4 is Queen of Nothing, which I don't think is very surprising. I think it was a lot of people's favorites. It was a very highly waited for, very highly anticipated book for me this year, and I thought it was so good. It's the 3rd book to The Cruel Prince, the Air Folk series, I believe, by Holly Black. I started reading Holly Black's books in like middle school with her modern fairy tales, Valiant, Tithe, and Ironside, and I loved those, and I like that those books that I read when I was in like middle school, high school, tied into these books that I'm reading now. It was just like a great full circle. I loved Jude and Carden. I loved how they were with each other, how they're individual people, and just the sacrifices they made. I thought the book was just so good, and I feel like I just keep saying that, but I just had a really good reading year, and I thought that that was a great conclusion to the series, and I miss them. I miss them. It's true. So my fifth top 5 book is actually my favorite read of this entire year, which I didn't really think that I had until I was going through and thought about which book really, really left a mark on me, and that's Dry by Neil Shusterman. I read this in May, March, I can't remember, and it stuck with me for weeks. So it's basically what would happen if Southern California ran out of water, and it was super freaky. They talked about people going to Costco to stock up on water, and how Disneyland was even participating in water conservation. They got rid of Tom Sawyer's Island and turned it into like a Grand Canyon attraction. The Jungle Cruise is gotten rid of. It's a Small World. All of these, Splash Mountain, all of these rides that take up a lot of water were gotten rid of for conservation. And the main characters can't find their parents. Their parents went down to the beach where they've got these like desalinator machines set up so that people can go get water, and a fight breaks out and they don't hear anything from their parents, so they're stuck at home. And their neighbor, whose name I can't remember right now, their family has been like doomsday prepping for a really long time. And their house basically goes on like lockdown, and the neighborhood tries to attack the family. It just shows how people get in like dire situations, and it really freaked me out. And I had started reading it like the night before, and when I got to work, I literally could not stop thinking about it all day. I had to shut my office door, and I was like, I just have to read. Like, I need to know how this book finished. And when I did finish it, I was reeling, and I talked to my coworker Sierra, and I was like, I want to go to Costco right now, because I work down the street from it, and get like 40 gallons of water and all sorts of food and provisions and stuff, and keep them in my house, because it could happen. That's what freaked me out the most, is that I lived in this area. All these places that the author talked about that they were going to, I have been to, and it was just the most realistic and scary book that I had ever read. And it stayed with me for weeks, and sometimes I still think about it, and I'm like, ooh, maybe we should go get water. Like, maybe we should stock up on stuff like that. Which my boyfriend is all for, because he's a little bit like that. But the fact that I read it in, like, March, and it's January of the next year, and I still think about it, and it still makes my heart race, was enough for me to think this was my favorite book of the entire year. It was so amazing, so well written. I've read quite a few other of Neil Shusterman's books that I always thought were good, but this one just really like hit home with me for some reason. So it's my favorite book of 2019. So those are all my stats for my 2019 reads. I'm super proud of myself for finishing my goal, even though I basically went up to like the very last second. And I'm hoping that 2020 will be just as good. For 2020, I decided to up my goal by 5 books, so I'm just trying to read 50, which I honestly think is doable now that I'm pushing myself more. I saw some people who are setting their goals at like 100, 150, which I think is crazy. I just don't have the time for that. I don't know how they do. Why are there so many booktubers who work from home? How is that possible? Somebody hook me up with a job where I can work from home, because honestly, I would love that. And then I would have more time to read, and I would get to stay home and not have to go out into the world and talk to other people. Show me your ways, because then I could read more, and I could hit my 50 book goal so much easier. I'm getting off topic. My second goal is to finish series that I've already started. I have so many series that I have started in the last few years where I read the first or the second book and just never continued on with the series, whether it's because I read the book right when it came out and it was months later when the second book came out and I didn't even know, or I did and just didn't have time to go pick it up, or just wasn't really like super excited about it. But my goal for this year is to try to finish as many series as possible. I have them all written down in my bullet journal. I'm planning on doing a whole separate video for that because there are a lot, but that is my big goal for this year, to finish as many series as possible, or at least to make more progress in them. Because the problem with waiting so long in between books is that you forget. So like one of the series you can see right here at Ember in the Ashes, I read the second book, the third book is out, but I have not purchased it yet. I need to continue on with it. I have the Diabolic right next to it, this white book here. I have the Empress, that's the second in the series. It's only a duology. Have not continued on with it. I've got Onyx and Ivory right here. I need to read Shadow and Flame. I haven't yet. I don't know why I do this. I just want to constantly read other series, and sometimes I don't want the series that I'm reading to finish, but I need to learn to finish series this year. My next goal is to not stress out about being like everybody else. I don't want to do weekly reading vlogs this year. I mostly did it this last year because I loved watching Chloe's weekly reading vlogs from Books with Chloe, but it's just not for me. I don't read enough during the week for it really to be interesting. I will go 3 or 5 days without reading anything, and then all of Saturday, that's all I do is read. So I just don't think it works for me. I'm just going to do monthly wrap-ups this year. If I'm reading a book that I'm super excited about, that was highly anticipated for me, I might do a reading vlog just based around that book. But I think this year I'm just going to try and do the monthly reading vlogs and also update more on Instagram. I don't post as often as I would like to there, and I think that that's my goal for this year, is to be more active on Instagram and to just do big wrap-ups on YouTube that I can look back on later. And I always get so wrapped up in videos that other YouTubers are doing and why I've been doing this for a year and I only have like 12 subscribers on YouTube and the layouts they're doing. I just want to not worry about that this year. Just take pictures of my books, interact with people more, and enjoy this a lot more. Hopefully this year it turns out to be much better. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself. I tried not to put too much pressure on myself in 2019, and I think I did a good job because I finally managed to hit my reading goal. I've upped it a little bit for this year. My spreads in my bullet journal are a little bit different. I always say that I'm going to show them on here, but it is really difficult getting everything set up and lighting, and it's only 1:30 and the light is already kind of going in my second bedroom. I have another light over here to kind of like balance it out, but hopefully this year I can also start to upload bullet journal spreads. I've been bullet journaling for like 4 or 5 years now, and I love it so much. It helps so much with my anxiety and just with keeping track of things that I really want to share with you guys, and maybe somebody else will start bullet journaling because of it. So that's my 2019 wrap up and my 2020 reading goals. Let me know down in the description how you did in 2019, if you're trying to beat what you did in 2020, if you're trying to stay the same, if you're gonna lower your goal. I considered lowering my goal to just like 20. I saw a ton of people who were doing that, setting it super low so that there's no pressure. But I do like a little bit of the pressure. I like pushing myself a little bit. So I did 50 books. I know I'm gonna do it this year, although it's the 5th. And I really haven't done that much reading other than today. But it's fine. We're only 5 days into 2020. And the rest of the year is gonna be great. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!